What's up guys? Today we're going to try a new formatted video where we're going to talk about what's going on in PvP right now. We're going to try to track the meta and talk about what may be coming next. So with that, let's get into it. Alright guys, so this is a new kind of video that I haven't made before. Hopefully you guys will find that this is useful. If it is, I might start putting out this kind of information every week, so you guys can use this when you're planning what types of teams you might be playing this coming week and what types of teams you might be expecting to see when you hit that search button. I want to apologize ahead of time. I'm kind of losing my voice a little bit due to allergies, so hopefully you guys can hear me okay. I'm just going to try to sit a little closer to the microphone and hopefully you guys can tell what the heck I'm saying. Alright, so the idea that I had was, what if I tracked every match of PvP that I saw to give you guys some information about what types of teams, what types of units, and what types of strategies I'm seeing people play, and that could give you guys some useful information about what you might be expecting to see this week, or maybe how things might be changing for next week. So the first thing we're going to look at is which units are we seeing the most of in PvP. Now these statistics are all going to be for geared PvP. A lot of this will also apply to ungeared to the extent that there is some divergence between what folks are using, and there may be some differences, but for now this is just going to be tracking geared PvP. Most of the data we have for this week just is from the matches that I've played. So there's about 70 or 80 matches in here, and these were primarily in the champion or challenger brackets. So again, if you're in a different tier, you might see different types of behavior. In general, I think we're seeing the same types of trends in a lot of the tiers, so hopefully this will be useful for you guys regardless of which tier you happen to be in right now. Alright, so let's get into what units we're seeing. So this list shows the top 10 units. Really though, there's really only about 5 or 6 units that I would say are occurring very frequently. And so you can see those listed here by ranked in order of how frequently they're being used. So number 1 is Gother, followed by King, Escanor, Arthur, Hauser, and Helbram. So in the rep column, that's what percentage of the total units observed each of these units makes up. So that means Gother is almost a third of the units that are being played right now. And since these are representing teams of 3, this does not include the subs, the most that number could be is 33%, because he can only be once on a team, and that's 1 out of 3. And you can look at the matches column and see that Gother shows up in 91% of the matches from this week. So Gother obviously is still very prevalent and still being used in most teams, in fact almost all teams, between 90 and 95% of all the teams that you'll see. King is still being used in quite a few teams today. You can see that he's being played in a little over 60% of the matches. He's pretty versatile, he's pretty popular for that reason, and for the fact that most people have him built up. I don't have data for last week, but I get a feeling from my matches that we're seeing sort of a King backlash because of number 3, Escanor. Escanor is really the only green unit being played right now. Yes, we do see Merlin. I saw a couple of frontline Merlins. You can see it's like in the 2% range. A lot of Merlins in the sub, for sure, for the ult. But really, Escanor represents 85% of all the green units that are being played right now. And in fact, he shows up in more than 50% of the matches that are going on right now. So he's definitely a force, that's coming out in the meta. Anecdotally, I believe I've seen him more in the past couple days since the Rita axe has been released. Now I don't know if that's really having to do with the fact that people have Rita, or if it's just having to do with the fact that now people have him built up and they're trying him in different team comps. I think we are going to see a little bit more of him, and depending on what happens on, with this patch, things can obviously change, but I would suspect we may see this 51%, go up even more in the next week. 4, 5, and 6, Arthur, Hauser, Helbram. I guess 4 and 5 I would kind of group together in the Escanor backlash type units. Though we see the mono red teams. 6, Helbram is part of the Kingbram. Once you get past 6, really the rest of those top 10 are just kind of random things that are being played. So really 1 through 6 we kind of see as the break point in terms of units that are getting a lot of play right now. Okay, so you can probably guess what types of teams we're going to be expecting to see based on these units. And so this is a list of the top 5 teams in the last week. So number 1 is Escanor team. It's going to be Escanor, Gother, and King. If you'll notice, Escanor is in the team ranked number 1, the most frequent, the 4th most frequent, and the 5th most frequent. So we are seeing a lot of Escanor-based teams. We're still seeing quite a bit of diversity in terms of how he's being used. I think people are still experimenting in terms of how they like to use him the best. Things maybe seem to be converging around this number 1 most common comp, which is the Gother Escanor King. I've seen Merlin used in the sub on that most often, but I have seen a couple others used, such as Gilthunder. So that's the most common team right now. It's got all 3 colors, so there's really no one type advantage that's going to smash it, with ease. Number 2 and number 3 are leaning towards the mono red. Obviously 2 isn't mono red because it has blue king in it. 3 is mono red. 2 and 4 are both 2 red units. So 2 is obviously Kingbram. That's not really anything new. Still seeing Kingbram in the meta. Number 4 is along the lines of this number 3 is along the lines of this mono red Escanor hate. And I would even say this is kind of pre-Escanor hate, because we saw these teams starting to rise up in terms of how often we're seeing them even before Escanor was released. There's just been so much hype about Escanor. People were really preparing for him even before he started, and so we really started to see some of this mono red hate kind of showing up even prior to his release. Again, number 4 and number 5, I think it's really just people experimenting with Escanor, trying to figure out, what's the best way to use him. In addition to this top 5, obviously we saw lots of other, random teams here and there, but these were the top 5 most common teams in the last week. So what does that mean in terms of color of units? Well, 55% of the units right now are red. That's probably not a surprise. You probably are seeing lots of Twigos in the back line. You may have even seen other, weird red stuff like Dreyfus, or I don't even know what else. But, obviously there's a lot of red units going on right now. Green and blue, this 21% green, again, that's 85% Escanor. So, if you take Escanor out, there's really not a whole lot of green being played aside from Escanor. And I think the reason is pretty clearly because there's so much red hate out there that if you put in a green unit without a really good reason for it, you're going to be in a world of hurt this week. So that's kind of the data that I've collected for you guys this week. Hopefully that's helpful in thinking through what this means. It's kind of tough to say. You would think that at this point we would be seeing kind of a blue backlash against these red hate teams, against the mono red green hate teams, but we really aren't seeing that at this point. So it could either be that people are a little slow to respond to this mono red green hate teams, or it could just be that people are afraid of Escanor and really don't want to put in a blue unit unless there's a really good reason to do so. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with the unit that's going to be released on Tuesday, tomorrow, overnight tonight, and to see if it's going to be something that will shake the meta up, or if we're going to kind of just see a continuing development of what we saw the past week, which is really kind of Escanor's beginning to impact the meta. I think we're going to continue to see that system developing, especially if we don't have any kind of new disruptive release coming on Tuesday. So hopefully this is helpful for you guys. I'm going to be trying to collect this type of data each week and distributing it to you guys in a format that's the most helpful. So, if you're interested in getting these updates, please feel free to like and subscribe with notifications for when I post these new videos, so you can be sure to get the information first and use it for your planning for what to do in the coming week or so. So, this is what I've been seeing in my matches, but I would also be interested to see, what have you guys been seeing in your tiers? Does this data look pretty consistent with what you've been seeing in terms of these anti-green, mono-red teams and kind of the development of the Escanor meta? Or have you guys been seeing, something different in the matches that you've been playing? If so, just give me a shout in the comments down below and let me know what you've been seeing. Thanks, guys.